Time moves forward. We move forward. We go from the void, from the death space of the fall, to the gestation period, the time of quiet stillness in the womb of creation, waiting for our rebirth in spring. Winter is a time of stillness, and thinking about stillness, Amber at Psychopomp of the Void and I have sat and came up with another tag for us. This one is gonna have some very Odinic and tarot related themes to it. I introduced the Winter 2025 December Hanged Man tag. 1. What does stillness truly mean to me on an energetic, physical, and spiritual level? And how is this different from stagnation? Well, conscious stillness comes with a certain awareness of everything going on around you. Choosing to be still does not mean complete dormancy or shutdown. Being still means that you are in the currents, but you are not actively fighting, and you're just kind of going with where the energies in life seems to be flowing. But that awareness, that stillness allows for contemplation. Stagnation, just complete disregard and loss of awareness of that stillness, that is lethargy, laziness, and just complete not being aware of what's going on. Stagnation is the end of creative processes. Stillness, on the other hand, can serve as a fertile incubation ground for this. How do I truly experience December's darkness? Do I experience it as intimacy, rest, concealment, discomfort, or something else? December. Growing up, that meant that it got way too dark to do anything outside after school for very long. That meant more time in the home, more time playing games, reading, hanging out with my brothers. Sorry about that. It was an intimate, bond-building moment. Just years and years of just hanging out together. I was the oldest brother, so I was kind of in charge, keeping everybody from killing each other and burning the house down. Into my adulthood, December really hasn't changed much. Only it's getting dark before I get home from work. And the sun is barely up when I'm leaving for work. So December is a month that a lot of the time, even here in Florida, is spent in darkness. It is that quiet, contemplative time. There is a certain degree of intimacy. Family and friends come over more often. Holiday festivities, there's just a different feeling in the air. And it's a time of quiet contemplation, a time to organize your thoughts, to reflect, to examine what you've done in the past year. Because 12 months, man, in the span of our lives, that is a short amount of time, and yet it is a long amount of time. It's a chance, that stillness, that cold, dark, quiet of December is a chance to reflect. Number 3, Where in my life am I being invited to contain energy, to hold it and not act upon it? How do I know when to contain energy and not act? Oh, this is a hard one to really tackle. This question, there's so much depth to it, so many different ways to see it and to look. Containing the energy is maybe slowing down on creation somewhat. Maybe it is picking and choosing how you are going to manifest that. Maybe it is just quietly holding space for people in your lives. I do know that I'm trying to give a little bit more of my time and my being to my family because, well, they deserve it. They need it. They seem to be better with me being more available. That knowing when to be still and not actively projecting or doing, it can definitely be a blessing, and it can be a gift because it may allow you to give something to, or more of something to somebody that hasn't necessarily gotten it. More of you, more time. And it can be a gift to you because it allows you to sit there and just think, to examine, to build, lay that mental foundation or the framework for the story you want to tell. But you don't always have to tell it as soon as it comes. You can sit on it and then act. And if you keep kind of checking in with the work that you've done, you'll know when the time is right. Number 4. What does womb space or the container mean to you in your spiritual practice? How do you know when something needs to be gestating instead of being born? That spiritual container, that womb, if you will, it is that cocoon. When you go into it and you wrap up in those silk gossamer threads and you lay down an idea, you explore the yeses and nos, the whys and hows of the idea, and you just hold it, turning it over again and again in your hand, just looking at it, not really pushing to understand, yet in time understanding it all. To know when you have an idea, but you need to hold on to it for a while, that it is not yet ready for the world. God, that's hard. The Witches in the Void into the Void tag that Amber and I did, we had it ready to roll by like September 3rd, and we did not release it for nearly a month after that. We sat with it and held it, reflected on the questions and the answers we could give. And in that time, the questions didn't change, but I know my answers evolved. They changed. They may have added depth. They may have lost depth. And they may have gotten deeper. Just all told, like they were more true to me. Sometimes holding on to something for a while before throwing it out into the world allows you to find the truest voice, the truest to you voice in the creation that you're wanting to make, into the work you're wanting to do. If you trust yourself and trust your intuition, you will get that feeling that just says, hey, it's time. It's go time. put this out into the world, and the people will see it and they will respond. How do I tend to my inner fire without it turning into pressure or productivity? What keeps my warmth alive without requiring performance, pressure, or output? What helps keep my fires going even in the cold and quiet months is the ability that I have to just sit and be. If I don't need to rush something, I don't. I mean, anyone that's watched my channel or goes and looks at my release history, I don't have as many videos as I probably should to some people for as long as I've made content. It's been a couple of years now. But if I don't have something to release, I don't push myself to do it. I don't rush. Sitting in that quiet silence, that stillness, it allows me to build warmth, to build ideas and thoughts, and to see, to observe changes, and not necessarily act rapidly, but to react in a measured and true to myself way. The Witchy community has changed multiple times over the years. And in fact, the crew from when I started making content to now that I interact with the most has completely changed. A lot of people have quit, but I'm still here. Just being able to sit in that silence, to be quiet, to contemplate, to see. It helps keep me from expending that flame in places that it may not be worth it. I stay out of all the drama. The things I do to feed that flame, spend it with my friends, to spend it with my family, to spend it with the spirits, the land, my ancestors, the gods. It all pours water back into the cup. It all adds kindling and tinder to the flame to keep it going, keep it level. The flames, if you've never had food cooked over an open flame, you're missing out. But the flame you want to cook on is barely a flame at all. You want that consistent, solid coal bed, that consistent heat. And you put your food on, either wrapped up in foil or on a grate, just a little off the coal bed, a little bit of space for the flames to flicker and the heat to rise without getting burned. You don't need to necessarily do everything at once. You don't necessarily need to do anything. Just be. Do the things that refill you. December, in the dark, in the cold, in those long nights. It's that time for contemplation. It's that time for regrowth. It's time to enter that chrysalis and plan the butterfly you want to be in spring. What helps keep me energetically warm through this time of year? Is it people, practices, beliefs, spaces, environments? Why do they work for me? It's no one thing out of the things listed. And it's all going to be in varying degrees every day. my family and friends are my family and friends are the foundation of who I am, what I am. But my spiritual practices and my spiritual beliefs build on that next layer of the pyramid that makes me who I am. To have those things work together, it is a strong support for me. It helps me remember who I am, what I'm here to do, and what really matters. The road through the quiet and the cold can be long. Living back in Ohio, sometimes the winters you'd be hitting 50 every day. And other times you would have snow on the ground from January 1st to March 15th, March 30th. And sometimes that snow could be up to the knee. Even for me, and I'm a freaking giant. I'm 6'5". Sometimes getting through that snow can take a while. It's cold and you feel it. But those spiritual practices that friends and family, they kept me walking down the road. My best friend lived down the road about a mile from me. And I've made that trek, snow mid-calf, after hanging out all night, drinking, eating something to kind of dampen the buzz a little bit, and then just some more time and Gatorade after. Walking home in the winter silence at 2 a.m. It was just me, the snow, and Odin, and the owl. And as you walk, you sit there and you think. And it's like, my ancestors have done this countless times before. Walking home at night from somebody, from a family home or a good friend's hall, after a night of festivities and fellowship with the people that matter. The cold air biting their faces. Every crunching step, every footfall, that 1 mile through the snow, it connected me to my friends, my family, my gods. He was walking beside me. It's the random little things like that throughout the year in general that connect and help keep those fires going. And it doesn't have to be some big grand thing. It was a walk I'd done hundreds of times before. But sometimes they take on a little bit of that special meaning. You get home, take off your coat, and just sit in the warmth, and it refreshes you in some ways. Find those practices for you that warm you back up. 7. How do I intentionally slow down in the month of December without guilt or self-judgment? What internal rules do I relax to allow myself to truly rest? This is one that is kind of hard for me to come up with, because I don't I try not to really stress myself out, and the stresses I do have aren't really something I can control. When I was working, I had that schedule and the employer's demands, and I couldn't control that, so I couldn't exactly relax that. But in what I could control, saying no. Oh, so and so wants us to come over to their house for a get together with friends. It's like, nah, I don't have the energy for that, and I don't particularly like so and so. Just staying home and sitting in that quiet, sitting able to contemplate and to gather and collect thought. And there are things we all assign ourselves to do. Sometimes you see those items and you're carrying a lot more than you realize. It's okay to put things down every once in a while. And it's more than okay sometimes to never pick them back up. When you put something down or give off a task that is not essential to day-to-day life, you put it aside for a while, it allows you to reflect on it and its place in your life. If it does not serve you and it's not worth the stress or anxiety it triggers in you and gives you, leave it be. Maybe you come back to it in a week, a month, a year, and maybe you never come back to it all. That's okay. Sometimes we've all got to learn that. I try to do that. It's easier said than done sometimes, but it's something we should all work on. Number 8. What energy from this year am I allowing to settle instead of resolve? How do I relate to the idea that not everything needs to be closed right now, or not everything needs closure? This one's really kind of hard to figure out. Sometimes I'm more involved in other people's things than maybe I should be. There's a support, maybe even as an anchor, definitely as a sounding board. And sometimes I've taken on other people's stuff as something I need to help solve. And over time, I've came to the realization that that's not my task. Maybe I am supposed to be there as a sounding board, but I can listen and I can hear them. I can see them where they are in that moment, in that emotional turmoil, and still not take on that burden. That I can give them that opportunity to voice their thoughts and hear those thoughts as they speak their truths in that moment, and to give them an insightful thought or question or an idea. Anyone that's talked to me knows I may not give a very large answer, and I may give you 2 or 3 lines and an insightful question to make you answer the question you asked me. I've given up trying to solve other people's problems. I'm just letting that settle. There's certain things I can't hold. And I've had to come to terms with that. And not everything I do needs closure. I've applied for hundreds of jobs in the last few months. I've heard back from maybe a handful, half a dozen. Now I've gotten a half a dozen interviews. Rejections from maybe 30. But that's still hundreds that it's like, I've let go worrying about it. The right opportunity in the right space will find me. And it's not something I need to chase. In my spiritual practice, some of you may know that me and two of my friends were talking about starting a pagan podcast. Me as a more active practitioner and member of the community, a known name and a known face, right? One that has been involved in the LA occult scene, covens, spiritual groups. My best friend. And her sister. This idea I kept pushing for and pushing for and pushing for. And it just never happened. Waiting. Jostling the tree, trying to get the leaves to fall or get the squirrels to wake up. One of them was on board and the other one, nah. So I let it settle. I let it go. It's gonna do its own thing. If it happens, it happens. But it's not something I can force. Because if I force it, it's not gonna be any good. So for now, it's something that I don't need that closure on. Because I know where it sits. And I know that it can be picked back up again. For now, I'm a YouTuber. For now, I'm doing this, and I'm talking to each and every one of you. And that is more than fine by me. How do I personally work with the winter solstice energy? Is it renewal, witnessing, honoring, enduring, or tending the smallest little ember, that smallest flame? The winter solstice here in Florida has a different vibe than it does up north. But entering the winter season, I use it to witness my family, to spend time with my family, to tend to the embers that may have been burned a little bit low, to build myself back up, to build my family and friends back up, to take that time and to talk and to hear and to see who and what they are and what they are becoming. Because sometimes we miss things, even with the ones we love. And slowing down like the winter calls for in most places allows you to sit and to look and to see who somebody is in that moment. And maybe you do have to kind of connect the image of the person you knew to who they are now and to fill in those gaps. But to strengthen those bonds to that person as they are now, to see the changes, to accept them and to love them, to see them, to hear them. Taking that time to tend the inner fire, to tend to the fires of the hearth and the heart, That is what the winter solstice is. That's what it invites you to do. To sit in silence, to sit in companionship, to sit in fellowship, and in some places, to throw a damn snowball. Sometimes you've got to do things to just celebrate being a family, being a friend group. Maybe it is doing something childish. Maybe it's playing music. And maybe it's just telling stories of family, friends, and kin that have gone on to the next journey, the next part of the spiral. What does no rebirth required mean in my spiritual path at this moment? Where have I outgrown the need to continually reinvent myself? Oh man. No rebirth required. I don't know that I could ever necessarily say that, because I've continuously evolved in my spiritual path and my practice and my knowledge as it grows. I mean, this past October, initiation by the goddess Hel to be taken in as one of her own. That is rebirth. That is an evolution. I think there's a natural rebirth that comes from the flow of cycles and a reinvention. I don't need to reinvent who I am forcefully. The reinventions will come and they will happen just as I grow. But I don't need to push for it. I don't need to suddenly claim I'm this, or this. If I start claiming high titles, that may very well be the time to quit listening to me at all, because I'll have lost the plot and something fundamental may have changed in my core. So, forced rebirth just isn't required in my practice. It doesn't hold the authenticity. I'm not going to suddenly decide I'm something I'm not. I'm never going to claim to be a guru. So I don't need to go into that cocoon and build a guru persona and then come out of the cocoon, lights and music, guitars and dancers, and saying, hey, follow me, all the glitz and glamour. I don't need to change who I am. The down to earth, laid back, chill being. The quiet one, the one that watches, the one that tries to uplift. I'm going to continue to journey, and I'm going to continue to seek. My road and my rebirths are not going to come to an end, but it's going to be a natural rebirth part of the process. I'm not going to force it. So to me, there's a difference. A forced rebirth doesn't have that authenticity, doesn't have that initiatory smack behind it. And a true rebirth will have that authenticity and that initiatory just, holy shit, that was life-changing feel. And you'll know it. The people that know you closely will know it. You don't need to pretend to be something you're not. How do I sense something new is forming within me while resisting the urge to name it too early? What signs tell me that patience is part of my magic? Oh man. When something starts to take form, you feel it. Its ideas or little sparks of thought that you feel may become something. So you kind of sit in that peaceful silence, that contemplative meditation, and you watch it for a while. And over time, those thoughts, those sparks may coalesce to become an idea. And then from an idea, it may become a project. Once the thought gets to an idea stage, maybe you can name it. Especially when it becomes a project. Name it. Give birth to it. It's stages. Knowing when to just let an idea cook and not giving it that name. Patience. It's hard, man. You've got to develop it over time. Patience is hard earned. An example of this, Odin winning the runes. He sacrificed himself to himself, and he hung for 9 days and 9 nights on Yggdrasil, staring down into the roots, into the cauldron where the runes flashed before him. Ansus, Haglas, Manas, Isa, Fehu, Hotala. He saw them. Number 12. What are you choosing to protect emotionally, spiritually, or energetically until the right time? What does honoring timing look like in this time of year? Honestly, what I'm looking to protect is my peace of mind and my sense of calm. Far too often we let the outside world affect our state of being, especially when we cannot control what's going on. Or we let our psyche and our fears work something out to something that is way bigger of a problem after we sit with it and worry than it would be otherwise. There are problems out there that should be worried about and dealt with, but most of what we come across in our day-to-day lives is stuff that we make worse. Spiritually, I think what I want to nurture and protect is my sense of curiosity. I always want to know more, to experience more, to do more. And it's an awesome thing for me to still have after 20 years as a practitioner. to still want to learn that next big step in energy work, or go a little bit further along the hedge, or deeper into that void space, or to the upper realms. And emotionally, I want to protect love. The love for my family, the love for my friends, the love for community, and it's something that I'm going to sit and reflect on in this month and in this coming winter. This concludes the Hanged Man tag. In any responses, use the hashtag Hanged Man, or the Hanged Man. And I want to thank Amber at Psychopomp of the Void for channeling these questions, and I want to thank Odin for giving these questions to Amber to ask to us. How are you going to integrate the energies of winter and this period of stillness into your life and your practice? Thank you for watching. I hope everybody has a great day.